Okay.
All right, we are back for another interview at PLRB. This time we were joined by Hunter Powell. He is with Accuserve, and we have Ed here again joining the conversation. So we're talking about TPAs, MRPs, all of that big conversation.
Favorite topic.
Your favorite? I hope so, considering your space and your role as CEO of Accuserve. So, all right, Hunter, go ahead and introduce yourself for people who don't know you. Share a little bit about Accuserve.
Yeah. So thanks for having me, Ed. It's been a while. I'm Hunter. I'm from Richmond, Virginia. Grew up in the South. I came out of college, like most people, looking for a job.
Sure.
Did investment banking for a few years, made my way into insurance about 10 years into my career, bought a business called Engel Martin Associates, commercial property loss adjuster. Fast forward about 7 years ago in that business, I got into personal lines claims. And then this insurtech wave came, right? And, for me, it felt like the only thing that was not susceptible to disruption from technology was the hammer and the nail. And it was a really fractured part of this really critical ecosystem. I mean, a claim does not end with an adjustment.
Yeah.
A claim doesn't end with a combined ratio. A claim ends with a human getting back to equilibrium with a family, right? Yeah. And so I'm passionate about what we're doing. And I think what you guys will see from Accuserve, what you're starting to see and what you'll see more in the coming months and years is, I want a disruptively human managed repair experience. I don't want a tech-enabled experience. I don't want a glossy care and compassion only experience. It's got to be expertise. It's got to be efficient and tech-enabled, but it's got to be about the human touch too, because at the end of the day, when you go through a claim, it's likely the first time you've ever been through it and you don't know what direction is up. Okay. Yep. So anyways, that's me and happy to be here.
Perfect. All right. So as you look at the claims ecosystem as a whole, what do you view as the biggest pain point on the network side or on your side as a TPA?
Yeah, I think it's holistic. It's not just the network. It's not the TPAs or the carriers. It's trust, right? Across all parties, we are not talking enough about trust. We are talking about QA rules engines. We are talking about measurement devices. We are talking about 9 different things for people to do that get away from what happened to tradespeople doing really good trades work. What happened to adjusters doing the appropriate amount of QA? Don't get me wrong. What happened to expertise going right at the start? Make the right repair versus replacement call, and then manage the heck out of that claim and get the human back on the go. For me, when we had a claim, and I'm going to tell this story at the PLRB speech tomorrow, I was, of course, out of town, as it always, things go wrong when I leave.
Yep.
And my wife had a contractor come over and listen, I mean, she didn't know what the right thing to do was, but the candid truth was that she was told one thing and it happened to be the wrong thing, right? So we looked at a 3-month construction project. This was called a Category 2 water loss, flood cut, tear everything out, 3 days for Christmas, when indeed it was a 3-day dry. It was below deductible. So my big question for my speech tomorrow, and I'm still in my own thunder, Michelle, you really got me going, is who wouldn't prefer a 3-day dry over a 3-month construction project, right? So trust is huge.
Trust is huge. All right. So I think you answered it from both sides, because the second part of the question was, what's the biggest pain point on the contractor side? Do you think trust is that, or is there a different answer there on the contractor side?
No, I think with trust, we could even the playing field. We could get the game. We could de-gamify it, right? If we knew that, okay, I needed this documentation, I need these communications, I need these SLAs to be hit every time, and the game was clear, rather than changing the rules of the game consistently. I think that would really make a long, it'd be a long putt for this industry to change, and it won't happen overnight.
Yeah.
But I think that'd be a big deal.
So what do contractors need to do to be successful on Accuserve if they're working with contractors?
Yeah. A lot of things, but 3 stand out. 1, I think learn, right? Learn, be a master at your craft. Mm-hmm. I pitch Accuserve as a network of experts. We have trade expertise in our business that we deploy into our claims, not because we don't trust our contractors, but because some of these decisions are so important. They deserve 2 expert eyes, right? Take my loss. If we didn't have a virtual collaboration from Code Blue, I would have been in a 3-month construction project, right? And so learn your trade, seek resources from us, challenge us to learn our trade, continue to get better, okay? 2, communicate. I mean, let's be honest here. Why do TPAs exist? In many ways, TPAs exist to fill a communication gap that our industry has dropped the ball on. That's not pointing fingers. That's just calling a spade a spade. Mm-hmm. And I think we're coming up with some tools. We just launched a really cool interactive customer portal that's aimed at guiding transparency throughout so that everyone can communicate accurately and timely. And the last one, I hate to say this, but I'm going to say it, is document. If you didn't document it, it didn't happen. That's just the world we live in. So let's go back to the start of trust. Yep. I mean, I like to envision a day where someone comes in, cares deeply, delivers high capability, quality expert solutions. And okay, so they might have missed a picture. I like a world where that can be that doesn't slow the process down. But
Yep.
in this world we're in, you got to document.
Yes. All right. So in the pricing side of things, we have Xactimate, we have Symbility. There are contractors that work on creating their own custom price lists at this point. Where do you fall in that spectrum? Do you accept them all? Do you require a certain kind of pricing or invoicing or estimate? What's your process?
Yeah, I mean, we work with them all, and
Okay.
we work with 5 of the top 10 carriers. And in many ways, Michelle, you know this better than I do. They dictate what we do, right? So Verisk and CoreLogic have wonderful businesses, been around for a long time. They're trusted, they're accepted. When a custom price list is needed, listen, we're always here again with an expert on the other end of the phone. If we say a roof is repairable and we argue and 2 experts agree that no, it actually needs to be replaced, we'll argue that with a carrier partner because 2 experts said it did, right? So, I mean, I think it needs to be give and take on both ends. There's no black and white answer to that question.
Yeah.
You know, I saw some information about contractors pushing back and what's an acceptable margin. And listen, there's no standard calculation for margin either, right? You buy a DQ. I think there's a 7 or 8 day payback time if you put it out for Xactware pricing.
Yeah.
So what's your margin after that? It's paid back, right? It's an allocation exercise. And so I'd encourage all of us again, let's not find talk tracks that fracture this industry more. Okay. Let's try to unify, which is our big dream, right? Unify carriers and contractors together to serve the human really in need. Let's try to bring trust back into the equation, and every side needs to give a little.
Sure. Okay. So what do you view as the role of networks like Accuserve in the claims ecosystem as a whole? Why do TPAs and MRPs need to exist?
Yeah. A lot of things. One's we need to be teachers. We need to be experts that are helping both sides learn each other's business. We need to be mediators. We need to be business growers and developers, right? It's not good enough for me just to be a source of lead gen. I want to help people actually run a better business. I mean, we're doing some really neat things that we'll launch later this year that comes down to the roofing companies, right? Manage your capital, manage your networking capital better, right? Get through the winter. So listen, I think we're a lead gen source. I think we are a unifier by mission. Another thing that comes to mind, Michelle, is listen, there's 2 big carriers now that write mostly ACV policies. I would love to do some more educational work with our roofing community on what does an ACV policy look like, right? In this off season, we put a whole financing mechanism into our service delivery because 1, we don't want those claims handled outside of programs. We want them to come through the program, right? But we know that they're delicate claims because if you got a roof payment schedule and you're on year 15, that's a self-insured roof. Well, the roofers sometimes don't know how to handle that. Sometimes the TPAs don't know how to handle that. That's a shitty experience for who? The human in need, right? So again, I think look to us to be the unifier, the trust builder, and the educator.
Once contractors are on your network, how are you retaining them? What are you doing to make contractors stay and want to continue working with Accuserve?
We don't do enough, and we can't do enough because the contractor partners are they're just everything to us in so many ways. So I think what you see is we've really bolstered our network recruiting and network kind of account management teams. We want to build a community. I want us to be the community that every contractor wants to be a part of. So look at we have performance algorithms. You got to perform to get our work, but again, more outbound outreach, more education on ACV policies, flattening the curve. You know, on our roofing side of our business, when we went with Liberty Mutual to CoreLogic, guys, we wrote all those estimates for our contractors. A lot of them don't know how to write in CoreLogic. And by the way, that's not a derogatory comment. A lot of people don't know how to write on a new platform like that, right? So right. And if you talk to the guys and the gals in our network, we took that burden. We did a bunch of training for our own team. We trained them as we went on what worked. How do you do a decoupled estimating versus bundled? But listen, here's one thing I'd say for anyone that watches this: challenge us. We need to be better. We don't do enough for our contractors. We do more than we've ever done, and we will keep pushing the envelope. Those are a couple examples.
Okay. Ed, anything you want to add in here? Any follow-ups?
Yeah, I think I just maybe touch on how you guys view the unification of your brands, right? It's not 3 distinct brands. It's now 1 brand. Talk us a little about how you think that will change the service provider experience. But also kind of how Accuserve fits in the overall ecosystem as a unified brand versus 3 separate brands.
Yeah, thanks for asking that. So Accuserve was really founded October 16th of 2020. My first hire was our CTO, a guy named Joe Kislow, wonderful human. We've built up a development team now of 9, 10 professionals. We had 1 when we merged these companies. I think we need to flatten the curve by simplifying. When you sign up for Accuserve, it's got to be a seamless experience. You got to be able to get work across all perils. In fact, we just on January 1 launched our first single data set customer, where we can take in claims and we can push them to all parts of our business. This may sound blocking and tackling, but guys, this stuff takes time. We bought 7 founder-run businesses in less than 3 years. So I think what you'll see us do is, you know, our Windows unit is not deeply connected to our roofing unit, which is not deeply connected to our recon unit. That all those barriers are coming down, Ed. If you're a contractor and you're a GC in our program and you go to an address and that has 5 potential revenue making opportunities, by the way, opportunities to impact the person's life positively, I want you to get all 5 of them. And I want that to be seamless. So we just launched our customer portal, I think February 1st, as part of our USA program launch. Those guys have just challenged us to take the bar even higher on service, which is a gift. We need to keep bringing barriers down to silos, Ed. We need to keep doing a better job, and we're doing a full rebrand on our customer engagement tools. You know, we found out a couple of weeks ago, embarrassed to admit it, but I'm never going to hide my flaws. You know, one of our carriers was sending out welcome emails to homeowners when they accepted the program using our legal name, not our DBA. Okay, that's confusing, right?
Yeah.
And so if we do stuff like that for our contractors, and we don't set them up for success. So I think what we're doing, Ed, and what we will continue to do is look inward. Take any healthy challenge. I'll always fan a healthy conflict. It'll make us better. Yeah.
Perfect. Anything else you want to add before we wrap it up, Hunter?
No, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much.
You got it. Awesome, guys.